Hello trucker family, this is Kevin with the trucker side. As you well know already, our team is always on the trucker side. On your side, we're making this series for owner operators so we can share our knowledge and make sure that owner operators out there or future owner operators are successful in their business and their career. So make sure you follow this video all the way to the end. This is going to be a video about the day-to-day life of an owner-operator and some tips and tricks that will make your life easier and more successful. Good habits go a long way, so you want to make sure that you get these habits formed well from the beginning, so that way when you go through them step by step, it's just going to feel like a walk in the park versus a sacrifice or a struggle. One very important thing that you need to do constantly from day one until the last day you're part of the trucking world is you want to make sure that you check and inspect your truck before hitting the road, both before leaving the house and before taking off for the day. When you leave the house, you want to make sure that you have inspected your truck mechanically and everything is in good operating condition. And you also want to make sure that you have supplied your trucks with essential supplies that you need while you're on the road, because the more you save time on not having to stop to grab a pack of water or to grab some food or to grab any other essential supplies that you need, if you have everything ready from the moment you left the house, you minimize your number of stops along the way, so you save time and money. Once you're on the road, you want to make sure you do a pre-trip every day, a mid-trip and a post-trip. It's very important to do the pre-trip before you get going, because if you have any problems, you want to see those while you're still parked versus finding those out along the way and having to stop on the shoulder of the interstate or who knows where in order to have these problems addressed. The mid-trip is also very important, and I know a lot of people skip it because they're in the mindset of I've checked my truck this morning and everything is looking good. Well, you never know from the morning until some hours later if you ran over a nail, if you ran over a bolt or a piece of metal that broke off of something and was sitting on the road. So I do recommend everybody, every time you stop for food, for pickups, for deliveries, for fuel, for anything, check your tires again, check and make sure there's no leaks under the truck, walk around and listen for air leaks, and just make sure that everything is running smooth and nothing changed since the moment you did your pre-trip. Then the post-trip. You want to make sure that you do a post-trip every day, because the moment you stopped for the day, if there were any problems you encountered and you're not aware of yet, you still have time to address them until your next shift. If maybe you're in a hurry, it's always better to catch a problem on the post-trip than it is to catch it on the next pre-trip on the morning when you are ready to go. All of a sudden you find that there's something that you need to address. So the post-trip can turn out to be quite a gem if you use it accordingly, and it can end up saving you quite a little bit of time. Then when it comes to driving, I always say that in order to drive efficiently, you have to always plan your day ahead. So before you get the truck in gear, make sure that you understand the route you'll be driving that day. Make sure you know where you're going. If you get to a shipper or receiver, make sure that you understand the way in and the way out, just so you don't have to wander around their warehouse, and maybe sometimes there's roads where you're forbidden to drive a truck, so you want to make sure that you find the right access way. You want to make sure you account for the route you'll be taking. Sometimes there's additional routes, there's routes where you can avoid the toll road, there's routes where you can avoid some mountains depending on how long your trip is, and you want to make sure that every single day you take the most efficient route that's going to save you time and money. You want to make sure you account for bigger cities that are ahead of you. If you have a little bit of flexibility in your program, in your hours, you might want to consider driving through a big city at a time or another before or after rush hour, just so you can save yourself some fuel, some time, and eventually drive in less traffic where it's less risky for inconveniences to happen. Then the weather. You want to make sure that you always keep an eye on the weather, because again, if you have some flexibility in your schedule, maybe you can wait out a storm or right in front of a storm, just to save yourself some trouble, to save yourself some time, and to drive in more optimal conditions if they are available for you at the time. And then very importantly, the hours of service. Make sure that you understand the hours of service accordingly. There is a lot of flexibility lately since the hours of service have got the additional split brake option. So you have a lot of ways to drive your 14 hours. Make sure you understand the split between the A2, 7.3 and everything you can do with your hours, so you can plan your day the best you can and save time and fuel. That's what you're ultimately interested in, saving time and fuel. If you plan your fuel stops ahead, not only you will find the cheapest fuel on your route, which is gonna save you money, but it's also gonna help you plan your day better, because if you might need a half an hour break and you pair that with your fuel stop and your lunch, then you do everything in one stop versus stopping 2 or 3 separate times, which is more time consuming, and you get to use more fuel if you do that. Also, when it comes to fuel, you want to have a very clear understanding on what is the fuel that you use while you're driving your truck and what is the fuel that you use when you idle your truck. I am aware of the fact that sometimes having an APU is not an option, is not a cheap tool to install on the truck, but on the long run, if you want to be successful, you have to consider buying an APU, because it's going to save you a lot of money when you need to use the AC or the heat, and it's going to save you a lot of money in maintenance on the engine, because you want to give that engine a break every here and there. So make sure that you keep track of the fuel that you use while driving and while idling, because the more you keep these numbers in line, the easier it's going to be for you to understand what a difference it makes, what money you can save if you have an APU, and how to manage this amounts of money properly. Also, I want to talk about communication. Good, clear communication can end up saving you a lot of time, and it can help the people around you, like your dispatchers, run your truck efficiently. The more you keep your dispatcher updated, say for example you deliver a load at night and you want to get some rest, if you send an update before you go to bed and say, just a short text, I'm empty, I'm gonna have my 10-hour break, finish at this time, and then I'm ready for a load, your dispatcher might be in earlier than that, and that gives him some time to work on your future load. He knows you're empty, he knows you're ready, but then he doesn't need to wake you up just to ask for a load, because you've already told him that you are ready to go. And that will help smoothen things a lot better, and it'll help your dispatcher make his job better. If there's any problems you have with the load or with the truck, always report them right away. Don't fall in the mindset of, it's a small problem, I'm going to fix it fast and I'm going to keep going. A small problem can turn into a big problem, so make sure that anytime you see something going wrong, you give your dispatcher a heads up so he can let everybody involved know, and then everybody's ready. Of course, if you have a solution and you put it in place, you're good, you're still making it on time. If there is a delay eventually, then you have done your best, you have let everybody know as soon as you could, and nobody can really hold you accountable for that, because problems will happen. We all know that. Trucking is trucking. The most you can do is communicate clearly and let everybody know where you're at and what's going on with you and your truck. Paperwork. You want to make sure that you stay on top of your paperwork and do not stall when it comes to it, because this is where your money is coming from. I've seen it way too often where drivers deliver a load and then they don't send the paperwork in right away. Sometimes it ends up causing delays of hours or even days. I've seen situations where drivers will deliver, and instead of sending an electronic copy of the proof of delivery, they put it in an envelope, send it to the company. You never know what happens to the envelope. The post office might be late, the package might be lost. So now all of a sudden, instead of having the load billed right away, you're looking at delays of days, maybe even weeks. Or there's also situations where you have to get a hold of the receiver again to get a copy of the proof of delivery, and this is something that you can avoid very, very easily by just getting in the habit of, whenever you deliver and you got your paperwork back, send it into your dispatcher. That way he knows you're empty, he sees that there's no shortages, broken pallets or overages or stuff of that nature, and everything went smooth. Also, don't forget to send in additional expenses if you had any sort of lumper fees or escort fees if you were in a harbor or port somewhere, or any other gate fees if it's a market or stuff of that nature that you want reimbursed. send those in right away, because those are not your expense as an owner operator. But if you don't send them in a timely manner and there's delays with them, in some cases they might get rejected, and instead of having it reimbursed, you're going to have it charged and you're going to have to pay for it. So you want to make sure you're going to avoid that. To sum this up, I just want to say that the better habits you create, the moment you get going, the more smooth your business as an owner operator is going to run. So you want to make sure you take these things seriously, because every single thing, every single phone call or text that you do every day in the right place is going to be another small step towards a bigger success. So in order to be successful in trucking, make sure that you do these steps properly. Contact us if you have any questions. We're on your side all the way. We're on the trucker side. My name is Kevin. Thanks for watching this video. Follow our channel if you want to see more. Comment in the box below or send us emails. Have a good day.